Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jim Williams here. Um, and Matthew will be coming in a few minutes. It's Thursday night, so what that means is Thursday night football on Prime. And it's the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. Two teams that, frankly, uh, it's hard to explain, but we'll get into that a little bit later. The Eagles are 4-1. They don't look as good as 4-1, but they are there. The Giants, it's now the Jackson Dart era. So we'll get into that in a few minutes when Matt gets here. Let's talk a little bit about what we can be watching football wise in the next couple of days. Obviously, tonight's game in the Meadowlands. Thursday Night Football is on Amazon. Sunday morning, we have another game from out in jolly old England. That's going to be Denver at the Jets, being played in London. You can watch it on NFL Network, which Richie Eisen and Kurt Warner got that game. The Sunday night game is Detroit, Kansas City. Should be a good one. That's on NBC, of course. Monday night has a doubleheader again. Buffalo at Atlanta. Chris Fowler, Don Orlowski, and Louis Riddick on the call there. And then Monday night, the second part of the doubleheader is Chicago going to face against Washington, the Commanders. As we all remember, won last year that game on a last-second touchdown that was quite amazing. It bounced off about 3 or 4 people before it landed in the hands of Terry Jennings, who got the touchdown. That is about the best excuse I can tell you for how that happened. It was a miracle. Sometimes miracles happen, right? For those of you in the New York and Philly area tonight, if you're in Philly, the place to watch the game is WTXF, and that's Fox 29 in Philadelphia. And New York, it's my old buddies at Channel 5 over there. Fox 5 Now, Philadelphia, that's WNYW. So that's where those of you in the Philly, New York area can watch the game if you don't subscribe to Prime. For those on Sunday morning when Denver is playing against the Jets, which of course is going to happen over in London, you'll be able to watch it locally on KMGH in in Denver, ABC 7, and WNBC Channel 4 in New York. As far as the Sunday, the Buffalo Atlanta game, you can get that. That's a Monday night game. You can get that on WGRZ, which is NBC2 in Buffalo, or WUPA, which is Channel 69, which is CBS in Atlanta. Okay, so that's where you can go and watch those games. We have some college sports tonight, and we will check out that one here in just a second. We have a list of here, just a second on that. The college schedule. It's going to be interesting because we now have Thursday night college football and Thursday night pro football. So if you're a football fan, you got plenty to watch. And let's go college schedule for Thursday. All right, and here we are. All right. Let's see. Now tomorrow we've got USF playing North Texas. That's going to be an interesting game. It's on ESPN2 tomorrow night. South Florida is ranked 24th in the AP polls. They are 4-1. North Texas is not ranked, and they're 5-0. Right now, the win probability slightly favors USF at 50.2%, with North Texas at 49.9%. 0.8 in the possible win category. Now we know what South Florida's done. All right, South Florida's only loss is to number 2 Miami, which is pretty impressive. So they have been racking up the wins after the fact. Their most impressive win so far, obviously, would be over the Florida Gators. So when they face the North Texas Mean Green, we'll see how things go there. Now, let's take a quick look at the standings in each conference. All right, the ACC, the AAC, which is where South Florida is, and North Texas. Navy's at the top of the conference with 3-0. Memphis is 2-0. North Texas is 1-0. South Florida is 1-0. Tulane is 1-0. East Carolina is 1-0. And Temple is 1-0. Florida Atlantic 1-1 in the conference. Rice 1-2 in the conference. Army 1-2 in the conference. UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, is 0-1. UAB is 0-2. Charlotte 0-2. Tulsa has yet to win in 3 games. So there you go with that situation with the American Athletic Conference. And we'll go over and check the standings in other conferences. Let's go to the Big 12. The Big 12, BYU stands on top of that one. They are 2-0, 5-0 overall. Texas Tech 2-0, 5-0 overall. Arizona State 2-0, 4-1 overall. Cincinnati 2-0, 4-1 overall. Iowa State 2-1, 5-1 overall. Baylor is 2-1 in the conference, 4-2 overall. Kansas 2-1, 4-2 overall. Arizona is 1-1, 4-1 overall. Houston 1-1, and they are 4-1 overall. TCU 1-1, 4-1 overall. Utah 1-1, 4-1 overall. Kansas State 1-2, 2-4 overall. UCF 0-2, 3-2 overall. Oklahoma State 0-2, 1-4 overall. Coach Prime in Colorado, as well as West Virginia with Rich Rod, are 0-3, and they're also 2-4. So there you go in that situation. Let's go to the Big Ten. Big Ten has Indiana at top. Indiana's 5-0. Ohio State 2-0. They're also 5-0. Oregon is 2-0. They're also 5-0. Michigan 2-0. 4-1. Illinois 2-1. 5-1 overall. SC 2-1 in the conference. 4-1 overall. Washington's 1-1. They're 4-1 overall. Northwestern's 1-1. 3-2 overall. Maryland 1-1. 4-1 overall. It's been a interesting situation there. They've had some pretty amazing deals going on in that conference with regard to how many teams have not yet lost. But again, they just started conference play last week, so I wouldn't get too excited yet, no matter who's going on. All right, Virginia leads the American, the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, at 3-0. They're 5-1 overall. Duke is 3-0, and they're 4-2. Georgia Tech, which I think, frankly, at this point, might be the best team in the conference. Georgia Tech is 2-0, 5-0 overall. Miami, the best team in the conference, 1-0, 5-0 overall. SMU, coming back from a playoff last season, is 1-0, 3-2 overall. Louisville, California, Pittsburgh, Stanford, Virginia Tech, all at 1-1. NC State 1-2, Wake 1-2, Syracuse 1-2, Clemson 1-2, Carolina 0-1, and Florida State 0-2, and Boston College 0-2. So that's what you're looking at in that conference. Let's talk a little bit about Bill Belichick and what's going on in on the campus of UNC. Now, Belichick, it's really interesting. Bill Belichick, when he got the job at North Carolina, I think a lot of people were surprised. He didn't get the gig that he wanted, which was, of course, the which was a pro job, but he got the college job. And it really surprised me, to be honest, because Bill Bill he didn't coach college in any shape or form. So his move to UNC made no sense. They weren't a contender. They weren't going to be a contender. So it was always kind of a that's a head scratcher as to why Belichick went there. Now, there's reports, credible ones, out of the Charlotte Observer, among other sources, that reported Wednesday that Belichick and North Carolina have already discussed the potential buyout options for the head coach. He could be off the job within the next few weeks. So the point that is being driven home here, which is kind of curious, is that Belichick and Carolina are already talking a buyout for a guy who may not even finish the season. Belichick has even gone to the point where he's willing to trigger his own $1 million if he can find a soft landing with another team or back in the media, says UNC insider Ollie Connolly from the Charlotte Observer. So this is weird. I mean, it seemed like he wanted to be there. And Bubba Cunningham, who's the athletic director at North Carolina, wanted him to be there. But it really has been quite bizarre. He hasn't done anything yet. I just think he's never been a really good fit for a college team. I just thought that was what was confusing to me. Now, his best friend is Nick Saban. We all know that Nick Saban has had amazing success. And he retired. They're literally the same age. They literally, have worked together. They will work together in Cleveland, where Belichick was the head coach and Saban was the defensive coordinator. I really don't know what's going on here. According to Belichick in a statement, he is fully committed to the UNC program and what we're building here. Now, that was a statement that went out yesterday. Then Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director, came out with a statement saying Coach Belichick has full support of the Department of the Athletics and the university. So, we're getting mixed messages here. The Tar Heels are 2-0. They opened the season with 38-10 loss to Clemson. It's second straight season UNC got blown out by them. A report by WRAL television in Chapel Hill said that Belichick has been praised for his one-on-one coaching ability and his ability to run the program, and the players have enjoyed being around him. The complaints have been ranging from a lack of communication between the other coaches and some of the people, players, family, etc., a lack of coaching experience from Belichick's entire staff. Students who transferred when Belichick took the job are also getting preferential treatment. They get extra tickets, better parking, and a number of little perks that they didn't get when Mac Brown was coaching there. Again, one source told WRAL that it's an unstructured mess. That's how they categorized it. There's no culture, no organization. It is a complete disaster. Rumors of the schools potentially looking to move on from Belichick reportedly stem from a rules violation from one of Belichick's staffers. Now, that means that allegedly, and let's use that term, allegedly, University of North Carolina cornerbacks coach Armon Hawkins was reportedly suspended this week for giving extra benefits to families of Tar Heel players, and that is due a report from The Atlantic. Despite the issues on the field and the problems in the locker room, Carolina seems to be preaching some patience with Belichick in his first year as a college football coach. Now, he's clearly trying to integrate some of those elements that made him one of the greatest NFL coaches into the college game. But he's finding out right now what a lot of people found out who made that switch, that it's not easy to do this anymore. He signed a 5-year, $50 million contract to become the head coach of the Tar Heels. You know, it was only 3 years, by the way, of that contract is guaranteed per USA Today. So while it seems like Belichick's time at North Carolina could be coming to an end as soon as a couple weeks from now, there's also, as we just read, the fact that he is committed to the program. We've seen this story before. We've seen Bobby Petrino. I've been committed to one school and ends up over at at Arkansas. We've seen it with even with Saban. Saban was the Miami Dolphins, and ended up going to Alabama. So at the end of the day, just because somebody says, we're cool with everything that's going on, doesn't mean we're cool with everything that's going on. And so I think that this story about what's going on with Bill Belichick is really got some legs to it here. Does he really want to finish coaching in, that situation, or would he like to be, exercised from it? So I think that's an issue that we're going to have to keep an eye on at this point as to what goes on. But I know that in watching UNC play football recently, that it really doesn't look at all like Belichick's having any fun, and certainly the team isn't having any fun, and they're not winning. So, when Brady left New England, the conversation was it Brady or was it Belichick that kept the team going? This amazing success of the Patriots during those two being linked together. Well, we all know that Brady left New England. I'm not so sure how he left it with Belichick. Nobody knows, and nobody probably will know. But he was upset. He left. He went to Tampa, won a championship. Belichick, when Brady left, hasn't had a winning season in the pros, hasn't had a winning season in college. So it's, I'm not going to. The easy thing here would be to throw shade on Bill Belichick. That's not fair. Okay, that's not totally fair. When Brady left, there was a very depleted, group of players over there, and Bill didn't have a quality team, and so it's fair not to judge him, I think, on the last few years of what happened in New England. I thought honestly that he would retire. He'd do his shtick on TV, and that would be, a soft pillow landing, very much like Saban, because I think Nick did the right job. Because what Nick said is, and I can't blame him with the portal, with the NIL, with all the other stuff that's going on. It's hard to say anything other than that he didn't want to recruit people 3 or 4 times. I get that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So he's now fishing and enjoying life, and doing his shtick on TV. Belichick had that 1 year of doing television, but just kept, I guess from a legacy standpoint, he didn't want to go out as a loser. I mean, any number of reasons. But the fit at UNC, all right, I know he had history in North Carolina. His father coached at North Carolina. Bill had an opportunity there. He probably could have got the job at Navy, which is where his father started. And nobody would have looked twice about what he did in Navy. But going to Carolina, signing a $50 million deal, making $10 million a year, coaching college kids when he has never coached college kids, just didn't make any sense. And I think we'll all be interested in seeing how this drama ends, if it ends anytime soon, with Bill Belichick. He's an interesting cat. He really is. But we'll have to see how it plays out. And heaven knows that we will have that opportunity very, very soon to find out what's going on there. Let's jump over real quick to the headlines. Headlines, obviously, is that we have a situation where the Dodgers and the Phillies, Dodgers-Phillies play tonight at 6:08, and then Milwaukee and the Cubs play on TBS tonight. That game is set for 9:08. Okay, so Dodgers and Phils at 6:08 out in Los Angeles, which is basically 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then Chicago and Milwaukee play tonight. My assumption is TBS didn't want their best game, which is LA and Philadelphia, to go up against Thursday Night Football, so they opted to go with the Cubs in Milwaukee at that point in time. So we'll see what we can see. The Eagles, and again, we're going into this, are going to have one heck of a time in the Meadowlands tonight. Again, we're not going to get into that until Matthew gets here, but it's going to be interesting. Let's kind of go down and have some fun with the head-to-head situations. There's some really interesting games this week on the head-to-head side. Let's start with we're not going to go with the Eagles and the Giants. Let's see. We've got the Dodgers lost last night. The Cubs won last night. We all know the Yankees didn't win last night, and Toronto prevailed. It was an interesting game, to say the least, and now Toronto moves on. It's been a disaster for Miami. I'm sorry, not for Miami, for Mets and for the Mets and for the Yankees. It's not been good. They've had problems. Both teams had expectations of even a Subway Series. There was a lot of talk about what could be done, what should be done, blah blah. But both teams are now at home playing golf, and there's going to be some interesting off-season situations with both teams. We'll have to see if Pete Alonso gets signed back with the Mets. What's going to happen in New York? They need a shortstop. There's a lot of moving parts here, and we will tackle those moving parts as the season goes by. And over in the American League, suddenly Detroit's back. It'd be interesting to see if they can pull off that fifth game and win. Being down 2 games to 0. The Mariners are in uncharted territory. They've never been this deep into the playoffs in recent years. And so for sure, I think that's going to be something that people are going to want to look into and watch and monitor, especially if you're fans of those teams. A lot of teams are waiting for the opportunity to get back and get better. And at this point in time, we will see what we will see. But I do think that it's going to be an interesting offseason in New York, where both the Yankees and the Mets felt this was their year, and neither of them came through. I don't want to hear that Aaron Judge didn't play well. He had a great season, and it may not have been exactly how fans wanted to draw it up and see it. That's understandable, but no question that we're looking at a wonderful opportunity here, and we'll see. We'll see what we can see, right? We'll see if indeed this has been a good season for either of them. It hasn't. Where's Juan Soto, which You pay him $700 million and he does not do much. All right, so let's move on and see if we can catch a couple of quick headlines as we wait here. Matt will be here soon to talk about tonight's football. Um, I think that remember, folks, just so you know, because we want you to know that all of the American League games are on FS1, and all of the uh, National League are on TBS. Um, Tom Brady dishes out some serious praise for linebacker Ray Lewis. He calls him the ultimate competitor. He should know. He and Ray bounced into each other quite a bit. Let's take a quick look down the featured storylines. The featured storylines for this week is Sunday, Broncos and Jets. The point spread in that game is 7.5. Money line has the Broncos at minus 395, the Jets at 310. Over unders 43 points. Okay. I don't know. This is gonna be a big scoring fest, but we'll see how that plays out as the weekend goes. And Matthew's with us. Hang on. Here we go. Matt, talking some football, but we wanted to wait to talk about tonight's game with you.
All right.
First of all, welcome, and I know that you're having Matt's at a family get together this week. Some wedding going on there, so time
Sure.
is of the essence with the man here, and he's juggling a lot of balls. We're just happy to have him, Matt. Your thoughts on tonight's game? The Eagles, the Giants, Thursday night football.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles go on the road and they're 7.5 point favorites.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that says a lot about what people really think of the Giants, and I think it's fair criticism. They lost to the Saints last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Have an argument to be the worst team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious about the Eagles. I'm not. They're 4-0, but they don't feel like it. It's like when you watch them play, and you're like, okay, they win, but is this going to be? Are these the world champions, and are they? The team that's going to defend the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna throw them out yet, but I just don't. I'm not comfortable with how they got to 4-0.
Yeah, Jim, they are 4-1.
4-1. I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
They lost last weekend to the Broncos,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
all of their games have been close, and with the
Mm-hmm.
exception of last weekend, they found a way to win them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's more of a positive if I'm an Eagles fan
Right.
versus looking at it in a negative sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you came out on top 4 out of 5 of them, you've played
Right.
5 close games, and your offense has looked really bad. Your offense isn't going to look that bad all year. It eventually things will start to click. You would assume.
My question to you on this is: there's been a lot of been a lot of chatter, for lack of a better term. It's been a lot of chatter about what's going on with the wide receivers are bitching because they're not getting enough, you know, touches on the ball. Saquon
Hmm.
Barkley hardly runs anymore. I mean, he stands back there, but occasionally they give the ball off to him. I'm, are they trying to placate the wide receivers? Are they forgetting that Saquon Barkley can run? I mean, I don't understand why this is such a disproportionate offense.
The game plan last week in specific felt like something that was placating to the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Like it almost felt like hey, we found ways to win every week. Like
Right.
we're gonna throw this game plan out there. I
Mm-hmm.
think we can still win with it, but
Right.
hopefully we win with it and we make some people happy along the way.
Right.
And that didn't work out. But I think disgruntled wide receivers are always a really tough situation to handle
Mm-hmm.
because generally they are good enough that you want them around. but
Yeah.
there also comes a point to where, if things start going a little bit sideways in the locker
Hmm.
room, or they start alienating themselves,
Right.
then you may start thinking about potential trade options.
Hmm. You know, um, I'm going to throw this out there and get your reaction. In 50 years of covering professional football
Mhm.
and college football, uh, while the quarterbacks get a lot of grief, 9 times out of 10, it's been my experience that the wide receiver room is the diva room. They are never happy, regardless of what you know. If you don't, if guys don't get 8, 9, 10 touches, they're ticked off. So there's more divas in the receiver rooms in both the NFL and in college than there are in some cases in the quarterback room.
Yeah, like, which I feel like that makes sense to me. Like, that, if I had guessed, I would
Mhm.
guess that the receivers are probably more. But the problem with receivers is that unless you're just in a full spread, we're going to throw it 50 times a game
Right.
offense, 40, 50 times. No, there's not enough wealth to go around. Like, if you're going to legitimately establish a running game and
Hmm.
run the football effectively,
Right.
it's unless unless one guy is just hot that day and
Right.
he's open all the time, one guy's not going to get 8, 9, 10 targets generally. You're going
Hmm.
to be more in that. If you're a top end guy, maybe you're getting around 6 or 7.
Hmm.
But aside from that, you shouldn't expect more than 3, 4 balls to come your way.
Right.
If you're a receiver.
It'd be nice to
So
catch him as well.
yeah, like, and I think that's something that receivers don't necessarily think about. They think about the catches, like how
Hmm.
much they had. Look at the targets. What if you didn't catch them all? What if you didn't get open
Right.
on this route that was designed for you?
Right.
Because
What if you
there's
run the
probably,
wrong route?
yeah, there's a lot of plays that are designed for receivers that don't always go because of the defense and
Hmm.
the way they're playing it. So you can't always get upset if there's a, like, I would guess that there has been a lot of plays called for AJ Brown,
Hmm.
but they were played a certain way, and that's the reason that he has not gotten the football as much. But that doesn't matter to AJ Brown. AJ Brown wants his touches.
Yeah. And, you know, there's I mean, some coaches will use um let's go to Pittsburgh and use Tomlin. I mean, he literally is sent out through his career some of the top receivers in all of football, but when they get off the team, they don't always come up, roses. And I think that is interesting that some coaches, handle these things differently than others. He has no tolerance for them, so he'll just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Other coaches try to placate them. You can't make everybody happy because you also have running backs who want to play. And if you're, I think that a lot of this goes back. Let's go back to the Bill Walsh time, right?
Hmm.
With the West Coast offense. Well, the West Coast offense was just basically a long handoff, right? You're
Yeah.
really you basically are throwing a 4 yard out to somebody, and they're getting yards after catch.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people, you look at Jerry Rice and all. I mean, it's successful because the system was built that way. As things have changed and evolved, and now we've got running the pistol, and we've got the run pass option situation. Wide receivers aren't. I mean, they're still relevant, obviously, but they're not necessarily the first option you're going to have when you break the cuddle.
Yeah, and I think more in the era of the RPO,
Hmm.
it's it's less about, like a guy like AJ Brown doesn't get as many targets in any sort of an
Hmm.
RPO heavy system because he's
Hmm.
he's more of a deep deep routes guy. That's where
Right.
his route tree is better. Now he runs the slant pretty well, and that's where they target him primarily out of the
Hmm.
RPOs.
Right.
But still, it doesn't always generate touches.
Right.
Now, I will say, in terms of the RPO offense and the way the Eagles have it set up, is you're probably going to get more pass than you're getting run out of the Eagles offense when they run
Right.
RPOs because they want to stack the box against Saquon.
Yeah, but I mean, one of the problems, and maybe the problem why they're not running, is their offensive line, even though they're 4-1, is not necessarily, you know, as strong as it was, because you're seeing Jalen Hurt run for his life and getting sacked a lot more this year than you did last.
Yeah, well, they're an aging line too.
Right.
Lane
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, he's starting to get towards the back end of his career,
Mm-hmm.
and as a tackle, you would expect to see some decline. Like I think the guy when I think of the two guys that I think of when I think of longevity at tackle
Mm-hmm.
and the way like just being able to really kind of sustain their success
Mm-hmm.
are Joe Thomas and Andrew Whitworth, and I
Mm-hmm.
think he's definitely more in that mold.
Mm-hmm.
But but still, like they still receive some drop off in play, and I think Lane has had the same effect. And you couple that with a couple of unfortunate injuries, just at different times, keeping different guys out at different times, then you can feel like you're mixing and matching.
Right. The Giants and the Eagles, along with the Washington team in Dallas, they are rivals. I think the closest
Yeah.
thing to it would be obviously the AFC North, where you've got Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. They don't like each other, but
Mm-hmm.
something weird happened last year, and I don't think I've ever seen it before. When Saquon Barkley went back to play against the Giants at at MetLife,
Mm-hmm.
people were cheering for him. They continued to cheer throughout the game. Every time he touched the ball, they're all over it. Um,
Yeah.
and that I've never seen in MetLife, where a former player comes back. Obviously, some former players come back, and they're going to get the ovation before the game. But once the game starts, they don't want to see anybody on that team score.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be different when it comes to Saquon.
Yeah, and I think that's because Saquon extended the Giants like the ability to have him back. I
Mm-hmm.
think he wanted to be in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously he wasn't happy with the results, but I think he wanted to be in New York. If I remember correctly, the Giants let him walk because they wanted to see what offers he would get. They wanted him to test his market
Right.
and then come back to him when they had a deal. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think the way they had it was like, hey, before you sign anything, like just come back to us, talk to us one last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he did that, and the Giants weren't willing to match the offer of the Eagles,
Right.
and that was why he left. And I think there's a certain sense of like, hey, ownership hasn't really invested in this football team and
Mm-hmm.
given us the results that we've hoped for. So
Right.
good for you. Like you wanted to come back, you tried to come back,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't have you back.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you back in the time when he was contemplating what he was going to do, he was all over radio, WFAN. He was in columns in the newspaper. It was like how much he enjoyed the being with the players on the Giants football team,
Yeah.
and how much he enjoyed the city, and how much he enjoyed the fans. And he did all the right things to return. But as you said, the ownership, for reasons known only to themselves, chose to let possibly one of the top backs in all of professional football leave because they figured, he's a running back. We'll just replace him.
Yeah, and I think to a certain credit of the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
they did a good job in drafting when they picked Cam Scadaboo this year,
Yeah.
and he's been solid for them so far. He's not he's not Saquon Barkley though. He'll
Mm-mm.
never be Saquon Barkley. Like what the way Saquon's able to change the game,
Mm-hmm.
specifically what he was able to do last year.
Mm-hmm.
It like it's stuff that you don't just find in a running back. It's
Right.
stuff that you get in a running back that you picked with the number 2 overall pick.
Mm-hmm. I think, and you brought this up about Scadaboo. I loved him in college. I thought he was phenomenal back.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. To your point about him and Saquon, they're two totally different players in how they play. I
Yeah.
mean, Scadaboo runs. Okay, he can run. He's not a bell cow type back. You're not gonna give him 30 touches. It's not gonna happen. 25, you're not gonna give him. he doesn't. He's not built that way. He's built to go catch passes. He's built to be involved in wildcat type situations. That's his shtick, and he does it well. And I like him. And he could be, for all I know, he could be rookie of the year. But that's not the elite level that you just gave up because you didn't want to spend a little extra money.
Yeah, yeah. And Scadaboo has his like he can run through tackles
Yeah,
too.
sure.
But I think it's less about like what Scadaboo can't do because he does what he does very well.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
Saquon is a just like almost a made in the lab mix
Mm-hmm.
of power and finesse.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can jump over a guy backwards,
Right.
and then he can also run through you and like drive a pile because he's got
Mm-hmm.
some of the biggest legs in the league.
Yep. He reminds me a lot of Barry Sanders. Um, Barry Sanders had that ability to plant his foot and cut on you, and you'd see backs almost falling down because they couldn't change directions fast enough.
Yeah,
The same time, if you asked defensive linemen, they would tell you that Barry Sanders, you know, is almost impossible to tackle.
yeah,
So I believe, that that's Saquon Barkley. He can do downhill running. He can, if you want him to go tackle to tackle, he can do that.
yep,
But he can also, scatter around the corner. He can catch passes. He can do a number of things. He's like a Swiss Army knife for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they just haven't been using him
yeah,
as a runner. Okay, we'll qualify that.
yeah. The Eagles definitely need to figure out their offensive identity.
Mm-hmm.
It feels clear that they have not figured it out
Mm-hmm.
in replacing offensive coordinator Kellen Moore in the
Right.
offseason. They still don't know what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and so the sooner they figure out their identity, the smoother that offense will run because they
Right.
have the ability. And we highlighted the offensive line problems, but their offensive line isn't bad enough to where you can't like create an identity. They have the personnel to be a really good passing offense or be a really good running offense, but they need to decide which one they're going to lean on in order to create opportunities in the other.
We got Mike asking us a question. It says, "Go Eagles, go Philly." So we're assuming, Mike, that you're a Philadelphia guy. You're telling us, tell Freddie to keep picking those horses, please. And he has one other quick comment, and that is AJ Brown complains like Terrell Owens. You know what, Mike? I would agree with you. He's not as good as Terrell Owens, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
T.O. can talk a little more than A.J. Brown can.
Right.
Not that A.J. Brown's a slob by any
No,
measure, but
no, no, no,
T.O.'s
no.
different.
I mean, Terrell Owens was on a totally separate planet than our buddy down there, AJ Brown. Um, it's it's interesting that the Cowboys, Washington, and you know these two teams. Um, you can take the Giants out of the equation at this point.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting race between those three teams.
Well, I think if we're being honest, we can take the Cowboys out as well.
Fair enough.
They don't have the defense to be able to like in order for them to win or
Hmm.
achieve any realistic goals
Yeah,
this season, they are literally going to have to outscore everyone they play.
and you can't do that.
Yeah, no, I think Dak Prescott is a really
Hmm.
good quarterback, but that's an impossible task you're being asked with that defense.
Yeah, I don't think you can. And,
Yeah,
and our buddy, you know, Mark Eckel, wrote an article which you can go to Sports Talk New York, and any of our sports talk sites. Um, and the title of it is it time for John Harbaugh to move on from Baltimore? Now we had a little discussion, I guess, a couple of days ago about where this is going. Um, it's interesting that someone like Mark, who obviously covered Philadelphia and knows John pretty well, is thinking that maybe it's time for the franchise to move on. Um, what are your thoughts on Harbaugh leaving Baltimore?
I have two sides that I think would support either side of
Hmm.
someone's thinking here.
Right.
One is the message getting stale? Like,
Hmm.
is the message between Lamar and John getting stale?
Hmm.
Because if you keep one and trade the other, you're obviously getting rid of John and keeping Lamar. Like
Right. That's not even a
that's
question.
yeah, that's it's a very easy choice there.
Hmm.
So if the message is stale, then yes, it's time to move on. However, there's another path that this goes, where they are changing coordinators again, which
Hmm.
is what happened. Was it
Defensive coordinators, right?
Well, they changed offensive coordinators too when they brought in Todd Monken, and I think
Right.
that was back in
Yeah, but
23.
that was a brilliant move
Yeah.
in that case.
Well, but now their offense hasn't had as much success to start this year
Hmm.
with Todd Monken, and so I know that people are kind of looking at that and wondering. I think it's either the message is stale and he's gone, or you still like John, you still think that he has the belief in the locker room, and that
Hmm.
things kind of haven't broke your way, and you give him another shot and have him reset coordinators again in the offseason. Because that feels like,
Right.
for as early as it is, it feels like the offseason is really where the Baltimore Ravens are headed this year.
Right. Echo brings up an interesting point, and he, you know, being a Philly guy, uh, he equates John to Andy Reid
Mm-hmm.
when Andy was there, and it wasn't that he wasn't a quality football coach. It's just that after 13 years in Philly, um, it just didn't. As you just said about the message wasn't coming across.
Mm-hmm.
A change of scenery, for Reed was. I mean, we know what happened there.
Yeah.
When you go to Kansas City, he really came back into his own. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't think John would be out of a job for much in a way of time if he did leave.
No, he
But
would.
but I do think with the Ravens, it's more because Lamar's hurt at this point. It's
Mm-hmm.
more how far can we go? By continually running around, a second, a third, a fourth string quarterback.
Yeah, and if I had to guess, if things continue to unfold this way, I think they would have to lose a lot of football games with Lamar Jackson healthy as the
Hmm.
quarterback
Right,
in order for John Harbaugh to get fired in the season.
right.
This feels like something that'll have a resolution come year's end, because I think
Well,
with how long he's been there.
right. Well, Steve Bisciotti, who owns the team, has been very good about not meddling in the team.
Yeah.
He lets the football people do what they need to do. Um, he meets the press once a year, and it's usually 1 or 2 weeks after the season's over. And he's a very open guy.
Hmm.
So I don't expect that he's not one of these guys from an ownership standpoint that sits up in the box and fumes over what might have happened on a play before.
Yeah.
He's a measured human being. That being said, um, he he fired Brian right after what was it? She's they'd only been 2 or maybe 3 years out from the Super Bowl, but he didn't think Bellick was you know had it any longer,
Hmm.
and Brian, to his credit, said, you know what, if that's what you want, I'm cool with that, and they have remained friends. As we know, Billick has not taken another job. He's stayed more on the commentator side. on television.
Mhm.
But I think that I do think that, to your point, and I agree with it, that the Ravens are just trying to get to the end of the season. If
Yeah.
they make the playoffs, great. If they don't make the playoffs, well, say la vie. Uh, but they got to do some fixing, as we say down south. Uh, but they can't. You don't do fixing in the middle of the season. You can't do it.
No.
And I think that's
It's
where the problem is right now.
and another big piece of their problem is they're not running the football well for
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
reason. I think if I remember correctly, the stat is Derrick Henry amassed more yards and the same amount of touchdowns in week one that he's amassed since week one.
Yeah. And he's
So
not gotten any back. The offensive line hasn't changed. He can still do it between the tackles. He can smash anybody.
yeah,
And you would think, and this is just my theory of the case, you would think that without having someone the quality of Lamar Jackson running the RPO offense, that you'd want to shorten the game if at all possible, and do that by you know, using my big guy. I
yeah,
want my bell cow out there to get me, 50, 75, 100 yards a game, and bleed the clock.
yeah.
But
And
they haven't played that kind of football at all.
I wonder if the late fumble in Buffalo wasn't the
Hmm.
start of something. Because if I remember correctly, he fumbled fairly early into week two as well. And
He did, yeah.
I don't think the one in Buffalo was one that like shake your confidence, like it
Hmm.
happens
Right.
kind of a deal. I think it was the second one that may have rattled his confidence a little bit because I think that's still important for as good as the blocking can be and stuff like that.
Hmm.
If you don't feel secure in holding the football, that's a very big problem.
Just checking this out. The Eagles are 10-1 on Thursday Night Football
Yeah,
over the past 11 years. The Giants are 0-10 on Thursday night, which, is the worst record in the league. I'm pretty sure
yeah,
that 0-10 would be the worst record in the league because they've only been doing this for 11 years. So yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, it. I don't. Can the Giants win? Yes, but
yeah,
I think the Giants only win this game if the Eagles help them.
yeah, yeah. I think the Eagles have to. To be honest with you, I think the Giants have to win the turnover battle by like at least two to win
Oh
this.
yeah. No, you're you're right. That's not even close. Yeah, two. I was thinking two picks or a pick and a couple of fumbles. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking I'm thinking three right there before I even,
yeah,
short field fumble. Fumble in the, on the south side of the 40, and that would be my, you know claim to fame there. Here's a quote from Sirianni, which is in Eccles' piece. Yeah, he's now talking about Jackson Dart. Yeah, he's a playmaker, Sirianni said. Um, he has the ability to make plays both with his legs and his arm. Watching his college tape, all we watched, all we watched was his college tape. We went through our due diligence there. We have a lot of really good um, intel on him, and we just hope that we can, you know, can um, can contain him. That is the absolute and total definition of a coach speak answer. you
yeah,
know, I mean, Jackson Dart had, it was his third start now.
yeah.
And you're talking about, well, we have great respect for his arm. And this guy's not Patrick Mahomes, guys.
He's played two games, and in the two games, like last week against New Orleans, he threw two interceptions.
Right.
200 yards. So it's
Hmm.
not like he's came in and he's just absolutely lit the world on fire with what he's
Right.
doing on the football field. He won him the first game, and that was a really impressive win against a really good Chargers team.
I think he'll be good. I
Yeah,
do, but I don't think he's gonna be good tonight.
but
I mean,
he's very much like a roller coaster quarterback. At least he has been for the majority of his career. Like
yeah,
he can look really good for a couple weeks,
right,
and then he'll just have an odd dip. Like I think back
right.
to
When
last
you
year.
said Ole Miss,
Yeah, I think back to last year when they went to Florida. In
mm-hmm,
that game, they were coming off of a win against Georgia at home. Like
mm-hmm,
they're riding high. There's literally nothing in the way of their playoff berth. All they had to do was win out, and they make the playoffs. And it
mm-hmm,
was almost like it was either the next week or the week after, something like that.
mm-hmm,
They went to Gainesville and they lost.
right,
And Jackson Dart threw I think he threw 3 interceptions in that game.
mm-hmm,
So he's very much an up and down guy. Like the highs can be really high with Jackson Dart, but you're also going to take the ride and get some blows out of him.
yeah. It's one of those things where you sit back and go, what's gonna happen next? And I think if it's Jackson Dart, um, you you got to put packages in there to fit his skill set.
Yeah.
I don't think the offensive coordinating team with the Giants have figured that out yet.
No, I like what they've done. They've incorporated QB like quarterback design runs, which I
Right.
can pretty much assure was not in there for Russell Wilson.
No, no, not at all.
So lots of QB runs, lots of RPOs, most likely. It's purely like they just are trying to get him comfortable in the
Yeah,
NFL speed and
if
run an
yeah,
offense in doing so.
if you're looking at a playbook, right, an offensive playbook, my thought at this point is usually they're about 75 to 100 pages. My
Mhm.
guess is that at this point in time, they've taken 25 pages, and that's the 25 pages Jackson Dart gets.
They might have written 25 new pages.
That's possible as well. That's a Shanahan thing, though. I mean, that's what Kyle does. He writes, he takes a look at what's going on, and goes from there. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. I have no expectations that the Giants are going to win, but as we said before, if the Eagles help them, then they might just get over on
Yeah, yeah. This thing, there's always a path in the NFL to win.
them.
Like you're never so outmatched in the NFL that you just have 0% chance
Hmm.
of winning.
Right.
But there's definitely some uphill battles that or some mountains that have to be climbed in some games, and this is one of those games where the
Hmm.
Giants are going to have to climb a mountain in order
There you
to come
go.
out on top.
All right. Well, tell you what, Matt, we're going to get out of here and
All right,
let people finish their lunches. Thank you all for
I
coming by.
I
And
was going to throw this out here.
oh, go ahead.
Yes, yesterday we were talking about the MLB, and we
Hmm.
made our predictions of
Yeah.
we kind of saw 3 series
Oops.
ending and one
Yeah.
continuing. One
Yeah.
series ended and 3 continued, and it was the exact inverse of what we had
Yeah.
when
Well,
we ended
I think
yesterday.
it's fair. It's fair to call that out. It's fair to call that out. We
Yeah,
didn't. We didn't hit on those three yesterday.
yeah,
Um,
we missed
it,
yesterday.
and it's funny because that the New York game, you know, was lining up to be a very interesting situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I'm not blaming it on the starting pitching. I mean, what happened happened, but you know, what I thought was interesting, and we talked about it, was how do you win with a bullpen game?
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
Yeah. Oh well, how do you win with a bullpen? Just score a bunch of runs, which
Well,
is what
that's
the Blue Jays
helpful.
did the
Yes.
entire series.
Yeah.
I I think 6 was like their lowest run total in the entire
Yeah.
series.
It was. If
Ridiculous.
you add everything together in a what ended up being a 4-game series, um, I believe they were north of 30 runs
Which is ridiculous. Like,
in a 4-game series. So I don't know what
yeah,
people thought in the way of pitching. It's like they pretty much figured out everybody you got on that pitching staff.
New York was never going to win that series with the
No,
starting pitching that showed up for them.
no.
This,
And they've got a bunch of off-season things that they're going to be having to deal with.
yes, they
So
did.
we'll see from there. Never is anything but drama with that team.
Nope.
And it's and we have no idea what's going on over in Flushing Meadows, where the Citibank Stadium sits, because that's another
Yeah.
cluster mess
Yeah.
from that standpoint. So anyway, let's take a moment real quick to get out here for shameless promos. We can be looking for some of your stuff popping up soon, and
Yep.
we're all looking forward to that, because enjoy your writing, and I know everybody else out there does as well. So any any suggestions of coming attractions?
I know I'll have the. I hope to have the watch guide, the SEC watch guide, out by tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight or tomorrow morning, one of the two.
Okay.
I would probably bank more towards tomorrow morning if I had to guess.
Well, as long as it's before Saturday, we're all fine.
Yep. Yep. It'll be out before Saturday.
So keep an eye out for that, and we will talk tomorrow about that SEC guide, and who's to watch this weekend and who isn't. Not an overwhelmingly good series of games to watch this weekend, but some very interesting ones. So
Yeah. There's
we'll get
some
into that tomorrow.
there's some trouble spots around there.
Yeah, there's a number of potential upset situations there. So we'll have to take a look at that. All right. Well, look, have a lovely day, everybody. We appreciate you joining us, and we shall see you sometime around the 12 o'clock hour tomorrow. Take care, everybody.